It's not easy being Batman. The Caped Crusader has had many ups and downs over the course of his almost century-long career. He's not an easy man to knock down, but when he is down, it's usually pretty bad. From being physically crushed to psychologically pulverized, Bruce Wayne has suffered through it all. And although he always makes it through, he definitely has had some battle scars that still ache him to this day. So on Top 10 Nerd today, we are breaking down the top 10 times Batman was broken. From some of the more obscure Elseworlds moments to iconic conflicts in the Dark Knight's history that have shaped him into the character he is today. Let's get to it. Starting us off in at number 10, we have Predator. Once upon a time, Batman had a crossover series with the Predator, known as Batman vs. Predator. Yes, it is as wonderful as it sounds. Written by Dave Gibbons and art by Andy and Adam Kubert, the series initially came out in 1991 and was followed up by 2 sequels. The premise? Batman is investigating a particularly grisly murder with ties to the mob, and the clues lead him to an abandoned junkyard. This invisible killer ends up being a predator, who Batman is not at all prepared to fight. They duke it out and Batman is almost killed. He manages to get away and retreats to the Wayne Manor but is severely wounded. Now in his absence, a lot of bad goes down in Gotham and the Predator keeps killing, so Batman decides that even though he is not fully healed, he needs to do something. So he uses a custom designed sonar exoskeleton suit to help him walk, increase his strength, and help him see, since his injuries rendered him temporarily blind. He ends up beating the Predator, who then commits an honor suicide and gives Batman the sword in which he killed himself with. But then more Predators come back, so more Predators. Up next, number 9, Jason Todd. Jason Todd's death is something we'll be talking about a little later on, but for the purpose of this number, we'll skip the context. The Joker killed Jason Todd, Batman's second Robin, and Bruce has never fully forgiven himself for it. That's all you need to know for now. For a very long time, it was believed that Jason Todd, along with Bucky Barnes and Uncle Ben, was one of the only characters in comics that was not destined to be revived, primarily because of the impact that his death had. Jerry Conway once called the character more interesting in death, might I add. He's not wrong. So when Jason did return, he made a point of Batman up. When he returned after Infinite Crisis as the Red Hood, he went after Bruce and beat the crap out of him, and then stole the Batmobile from him, which is kind of funny because it's full circle for the character, since his second retconned origin had him meeting Bruce for the first time when trying to steal the Batmobile's hubcaps, so it must have been satisfying for him, really. In at number 8, Deathstroke. Deathstroke is a character who has proven to be lethal to numerous DC superhero teams. Needless to say, he's a tough cookie. He's also been a formidable challenge for Batman on numerous occasions. Once, while Slade was wanted by the feds, Batman chased him down along the top of one of Gotham's skyscrapers, trying to offer him protection if he just went with Batman calmly and worked with the authorities. But that is not Slade's jam. He mocked Batman for being an ordinary man, while he himself had superhuman enhancements, which he then showed off by proceeding to kick Batman's butt. As he put it, Batman has trained himself to fight, whereas Slade has trained himself to kill. He leaves Batman bruised and bleeding on the ledge of the building, and when the Caped Crusader does get back up, Slade smashes him into a bookcase, which topples on top of Bruce, letting Slade get away for good. Or at least for good in that story. Batman's just lying there with a bunch of books on top of him, just being miserable and unconscious. And at number 7, Prometheus. It takes a special kind of gusto to walk into the Justice League headquarters with the intent of beating up DC's most established heroes. But that is something Prometheus did. Created by Grant Morrison, this character had a special helmet and access to technology that would allow him to download information and abilities, not dissimilar to how Neo does it in the Matrix trilogy. He manages to beat up the Justice League members at the JLA Watchtower and downloads information about Bruce's fighting style along with a bunch of other fighting styles in order to whoop Batman's ass when a Caped Crusader tries to take him out. Actually kind of a really brilliant tactic. Moving on to number 6, Superman. Of course. Batman and Superman have had their fair share of brawls with one another over the years. Sometimes Batman walks away the victor, sometimes it's the Man of Steel. But on one occasion during the New 52, the Bat got his butt handed to him pretty badly. I feel like I've been talking a lot about Batman and his ass, but in the metaphorical sense of like, it got kicked. Well, more so literal sense then, isn't it? This took place during Justice League Origin, a reimagining of their first meeting, and no, it did not take place on a cruise liner where both men got changed into their costumes in the dark. Batman had no idea who or what he was up against, and it took Green Lantern stepping in to ensure that Bruce wasn't turned into a smear on the ground by the all-powerful Kryptonian. Probably for the best. And at number 5, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman can kick some serious butt. There's that butt again. Case in point, Wonder Woman the Hecate, a graphic novel penned by Greg Rucka published in 2002, is a modern Greek tragedy of sorts in which Diana protects a woman who has committed murder. It was a vengeance killing against the man who murdered her sister. She is honor bound to her, and while Batman wants this woman arrested, Diana won't let that happen. Batman is kind of the villain in this one. The two duke it out, and in a very iconic panel, she pins the Dark Knight to the ground, her foot on his cowl. She tells him to not get up, and eventually he submits. Talk about breaking a hero's pride. He's not just physically broken, he's been a little emasculated. In at number 4, the Mutant Leader. In Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, we see a future version of Gotham, one in which the Caped Crusader has aged significantly and has chosen to return to crime fighting, feeling that Gotham needs him now more than ever. Now this alternate future has fallen on hard times. Technology is very prominent, and a hyper-violent gang known as the Mutants now terrorize the city, having formed shortly after Bruce retired. Crime is at an all-time high. Bruce returns to the Cape and Cowl, and he takes on the gang, attacking their headquarters, shooting them down with rubber bullets and staying inside the Batmobile for the most part. Their leader sees this, a man known as the Mutant Leader, and calls him out. This is where Bruce goofs up. He gets cocky. He gets out of the Batmobile after the leader challenges him to a one-on-one fight. Like we said, Bruce has aged significantly, and he's pretty rusty. The Mutant Leader, on the other hand, is a beast. He gives Bruce one of the worst beatdowns he's ever seen, nearly killing him, almost impaling him too, until Carrie Kelly, his new Robin, shows up to distract him long enough for Batman to knock the Mutant Leader out. Later, they have a rematch and Batman is much more prepared, defeating him and the gang for good. Moving on to number 3, my personal favorite, The Court of Owls. One of the standout parts of the New 52 came at the hands of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo with their run on the main solo Batman title. They managed to introduce a sinister new group of villains, the Court of Owls, whose roots were deep within Gotham's history. When Batman first fully faces off against them, they bust him up psychologically when he's trapped inside of their labyrinth. He's in there for days, missing from Gotham's streets, slowly going mad under the hallucinations and mind tricks that the court has inflicted upon him, weakening him, driving him closer and closer to insanity as their assassin Talon waits to strike. Now Bruce manages to get out, but over the course of Batman issue 4, 5, and 6, we witness Bruce's decline, not only visually, but physically with the comic's form, specifically in issue 5. Readers had to turn the issue sideways and eventually upside down in order to continue reading, mimicking the mental state that Bruce was in as he navigates through this seemingly endless maze, witnessing himself becoming an owl and being tormented by the court and its terrors. Eventually, despite being fatally wounded, his willpower is strong enough for Bruce to break through and defeat Talon, managing to break free and escape from the labyrinth as well. It's like some of the best contemporary Batman work in DC's history, or recent history rather. It's really good. You guys should read it if you haven't already. You can get it as a collection at this point. In at number 2, Bane breaks his back. When we think of Batman breaking, we usually think of this full-page panel. It's Bane, literally breaking Batman's back in one of the Dark Knight's most iconic moments. In 1993 through 1994, there was a Batman story arc called Nightfall, in which Bruce is systematically assaulted and eventually crippled by Bane, a super-enhanced supervillain with a genius-level intellect capable of outsmarting even the Caped Crusader, which is what he does in this instance. And he breaks Batman's back quite literally in the process. Now, the story arc itself had a major impact on Bruce's character, with Batman having to rebuild the trust of the police, the public, and several other heroes after he makes the mistake of giving a man named Jean-Paul Vallée, aka Azrael, the Batman mantle to maintain while he is healing. Azrael notoriously brought shame to the mantle with how violent and homicidal he was. And Bane brought a lot of shame to Batman himself too. It's not just that back that breaks, it's also his ego. And finally, in at number 1, the Joker kills Jason Todd. As we learned from our Court of Owls number, Batman can be broken psychologically, not just physically. And while that is rare, there have been a handful of instances that have made an impact on the Dark Knight that way. Arguably, the moment that has broken Bruce Wayne the most is when the Joker, his arch-nemesis, killed the second Robin, Jason Todd. Arguably, no other event in the Caped Crusader's past has damaged him more than the death of Jason. After Dick Grayson had retired as Robin and had taken up his Nightwing alias, focusing on his work with the new Teen Titans, DC felt that Batman needed a replacement. The character's sales always did better when he had his young ward in tow. Jason Todd was introduced as a carbon copy of Dick Grayson originally, and eventually was retconned to have more of a distinguished personality from his predecessor, which involved making him a spunky, rebellious street kid. This Jason was not well liked. He also kind of killed a dude by pushing him off of a fire escape and then lied to Batman and said that guy slipped, so yeah, kinda get the dislike there. After his reinvention, DC president at the time, Jeanette Kahn, wanted to address this widespread dislike, and after Dennis O'Neil approached her with the idea of a phone poll, which was an idea he had gotten from a Saturday Night Live skit with Eddie Murphy that involved viewers weighing in on the fate of a lobster by calling in, "I you not," it was decided that Jason Todd's life would be determined by the same method. Long story short, he died, largely thanks to one dude setting up a computer program to call in and vote repeatedly. He must have paid a pretty penny for that actually, because it was 50 cents a call. It came down to a 72 vote difference. The Joker beat Jason to death with a crowbar, and Batman has never been the same since. From the main continuity to extended alternate universes, the likes of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, we see how Jason's death and Bruce's guilt over it has shaped the character and made him more grim and much more cynical. It's haunted him, and gave him a further edge to his already very prominent darkness. Alright, there we have it, friends. What other times do you think Batman has been broken? Either physically or psychologically or emotionally? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know your thoughts. If you dug this video, spread that love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more lists just like this one. In the meantime though, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.